I'm the music producer, and my role is bigger picture. I'm the arranger, I'm the producer, I'm finding the voice of the song, collaboration with each of the singers, each of our artists. You know, what's the message that we're trying to bring on each song? What is each artist trying? What's the story that we're trying to tell? And then it's finding what that voice is and telling the story through the right arrangements and getting a good, a well-produced track. The choice of what instruments play, what is the song? What is the story of the song? Are we going to make it a symphonic piece? Are we going to make it, strumming guitars? Are we going to go to Nashville? Are we going to make the song, a symphonic version, or are we going to do the song as a pop ballad? But these are choices that we work out with the artists, and what feels good. When we were doing Bring 'Em Home, it just felt right. Instead of doing it like the Broadway version, which was very much harps and very classical sounding, we thought, well, hey, what if we had a guitar just strumming and did a little bit more contemporary feeling on a song-by-song basis? And we did try to have a flavor, for the whole project, and that is, to keep it a little contemporary sounding, as we can. But it's just finding what's, and it's a blank palette when we start. We can really go anywhere we want, and so it's really collaboration with our artists and finding what's the best way to tell the story.
I am a force, a source of light. I shine too bright for mere mortals, and in time
just take some chances and start going in different directions. If we sort of know we want to do something, in a certain kind of way, saying, hey, let's take the song in sort of like a pop theater kind of thing, and let's have some drums and bass on it. And so if maybe we know we sort of want to do it in a certain style, but sometimes you really have no idea until you start going, and you start taking some chances and go in different directions. When we were doing Defying Gravity, when Sally and I were working on it, that's Broadway is a very specific version of it, and we decided to go a whole different way because we're no longer in the context of the show, so we don't have to. We don't have to worry about the lift at the end of the song, and it's just sort of you find things that work and things that you like, and you say, oh, I like that, and I don't like that, and you just sort of work it out, and then you start layering it on it, and next thing you know, you have a song. The main technology, the heart of our technology, is the Pro Tools HD system, which is the TDM. Now, Pro Tools comes in a lot of different flavors, and it's actually they have versions that are entry level for a couple $100, and then they have the $20,000 version, and it's all one big brand name called Pro Tools. And so, depending on what your needs are, you could start small and just add as you go, and that's what a lot of studios do. I started playing the piano at 13 years old at Shakey's Pizza in North Hollywood, California, and I had a little duo called Jeremy and Jimmy, the Double J's, and I played honky-tonk piano at Shakey's, and I ate free pizza. And from there, it was sort of just a natural progression. I had a real passion for what I was doing. Then I went to music school and ultimately dropped out of music school, but that's a whole other story. But I had a vision, and I always wanted to play. I always loved accompanying. My favorite thing was accompanying pop vocals, which was the big trend at the time. Between Richard Carpenter, and then later, Billy Joel as a singer-songwriter, and then Elton John, and the whole singer-songwriter vocal accompaniment thing became a big part of my passion. But throughout all this, it was always dramatic. I was never a Broadway guy. I was never, I was never like, the guy who loved Broadway shows. That was never my thing. But pop music was always, a cornerstone of the Broadway repertoire, going back to the beginning of the 20s and the 30s, and Cole Porter and then Richard Rodgers. They were pop songwriters, and so the songs of Broadway were contemporary pop songs. And so later on in my career, when I was working in clubs and then Vegas and Atlantic City, when that was happening, and I met Linda Eder. The natural progression there, and then we met Frank Wildhorn, who was writing. He was writing for Whitney Houston at the time, but he wanted to write for Broadway because he's a pop songwriter, but he felt the voice for Broadway, and so I was Linda's musical director for almost 20 years, and arranger and conductor, and we did all the Carnegie Hall and played Radio City and made our TV specials and a lot of records. Over the last 10, 12 years, the technologies have changed so much. It used to be automatic. You used to have a record company, and you used to get hired to make records, and then you'd tour, and you'd sell some records, and you'd do this, then they would give you money, and you'd make another record, and well, the record companies aren't there anymore. So now it's about finding ways to get your record made, and get your music made, and have your voice heard. It's also different with the whole iTunes store, the way music is distributed is different. It used to be entirely physical CDs, and before that cassettes and 8-track tapes and records, and remember vinyl records, and now everything's electronic. So the time to market is much shorter. And also the number of tracks. When it was CD or nothing. We were routinely making 16 or 18 tracks on a CD, and now it's not unusual to make a single. You'll make one track or two, or you make a 4-side EP. It's just different, and it's just being willing to change and go with whatever the business throws at you. The advice to the singers is you got to follow your heart and your passion. If you want to do it, you do it. I have 2 daughters, and if either of them were to come to me and say, "Daddy, this is what I want to do," I'd sort of say, "Okay, well, if you love it, you got to do it." No resistance. At the same time, there's tremendous amount of technique you still need. If you don't have the technique, you're probably going to hurt yourself at some point. You're singing every day, but you have to have it in you. Don't change what you are and who you are because someone said, "Oh, but singers should do this." Well, you got to do what's in your heart, and if you want to sing a certain kind of style or a particular way, if it's not damaging your voice, you probably should explore that and go there. It's a highly technical field. At the same time, there's a tremendous amount of just art and music. Your knowledge of the genre, your listening list of your music library needs to be across the board. And if you listen to today's, or forget today's, any music over the last 50 years, it crosses boundaries. You don't say, "Well, I only do one little style." Nobody does just one style. Everybody is multifaceted now, and especially if you want to be a studio musician, you sort of need to have it in your back pocket. If someone were to say, "Hey, let's go this way," you sort of have to have an idea. Maybe you're not a specialist. Maybe you don't play the mandolin, but to be able to have that in your vocabulary, to where you can have a conversation with someone who does play the mandolin, or whatever instrument it is. You don't have to be an expert at every instrument to be a good producer, but you need to have the overall bigger picture and the musicality of what you're going for, and to be able to have conversations with your team of people that you're going to surround yourself with.